Caracas has woken up to a nightmare. Through the early hours of the morning, residents filmed the sky lighting up with explosions, watched power flicker and die across entire neighborhoods, and listened to low-flying aircraft thunder over the Venezuelan capital as fires burned near key military and political targets. On social media, one panicked phrase keeps repeating: "The U.S. Marines have arrived." Clips show flashes that look like missile strikes, tracer fire arcing over buildings, and armored vehicles rolling along darkened streets. In the background, you can hear people screaming, crying, and chanting that American troops are storming Caracas. What triggered the panic were coordinated blasts near some of the most sensitive locations in Venezuela. Witnesses and local reports point to multiple sites: Fort Tiuna, the country's largest army complex and home to top military command; La Carlota Air Base, right in the middle of the city; the pro-government 23 de Enero district; and the area around Miraflores Palace, President Nicolas Maduro's official seat of power. The Times of India and other outlets say unverified footage from the ground shows tanks in the streets, detentions of suspected opponents, and what some Venezuelans claim are U.S. Marines or special forces moving with local units. None of that has been independently confirmed, but the perception inside Caracas is clear. People believe a U.S.-led military operation has begun. Official Washington, however, is speaking in careful code. U.S. officials acknowledge they are aware of explosions and aircraft activity over the capital, but the White House has issued no formal statement, and the Pentagon refuses to confirm or deny direct U.S. involvement. That deliberate ambiguity is fueling both fear and speculation. If this isn't an American strike, then who is hitting these targets with that level of precision? Across the border in Colombia, President Gustavo Petro isn't waiting for clarification. He has publicly warned that Caracas is being bombed, urging the United Nations and the Organization of American States to convene emergency sessions to address what he calls a rapidly escalating Caribbean military crisis. For regional leaders, the message is simple: if the United States has moved from sanctions and covert pressure to open force, all of Latin America will feel the shockwaves. For months leading up to tonight, the signs were there. Washington massed warships and thousands of Marines in the Caribbean, carried out strikes on Venezuelan ports and so-called drug docks, and warned that Maduro's government and allied cartels would face direct U.S. military action if they continued trafficking and threatening regional security. Analysts spoke of an invasion countdown as U.S. forces rehearsed amphibious landings and air assault operations near Venezuelan waters. Now, the pattern of explosions across Caracas looks like the next phase of that strategy. Military experts point out that hits on air bases, command centers, and major army installations are exactly how the U.S. typically opens a campaign: destroy enemy air defenses, cripple command and control, and sow confusion before any ground push. If that assessment is correct, whatever started tonight may only be the beginning. Inside Venezuela, Maduro's government has responded by declaring a nationwide state of emergency, activating the Defense Command, and ordering full mobilization of the armed forces. An official statement from Caracas accuses the United States of grave military aggression and calls the strikes a violation of international law and a direct threat to regional peace. State media shows images of Venezuelan tanks deployed on main avenues, heavily armed troops guarding strategic buildings, and air defense batteries supposedly on alert around key sites. At the same time, opposition sources and foreign observers say they are still trying to verify who controls which parts of the capital and whether any factions inside the military are breaking away from Maduro. For ordinary Venezuelans, none of these strategic calculations matter in the moment. They are dealing with the immediate terror of blasts shaking their homes, the sight of smoke rising from familiar landmarks, and the uncertainty of not knowing whether the next explosion will hit their neighborhood. Some residents report brief blackouts and disrupted communications. Others say they are sheltering away from windows and avoiding main roads as armored convoys move past. Airlines and aviation authorities are already reacting. International carriers had warned of a hazardous security environment over Venezuela even before this latest escalation, and more flight suspensions or reroutings are expected as the situation on the ground deteriorates. The risk is not just to Venezuelan infrastructure, but to any civilian aircraft flying in contested airspace. Globally, governments are scrambling for information. U.S. media and officials report that Trump has confirmed earlier rounds of strikes on Venezuelan targets and has publicly vowed not to rule out further military action, including troop deployments, if Maduro continues to resist. The big unanswered questions now are whether tonight's events include actual U.S. boots on Venezuelan soil, whether Maduro himself remains in secure control, and how far Washington is prepared to go to force regime change. In the coming hours, the world will be watching for three key signs: a clear statement from the White House claiming or disavowing responsibility, proof of life and control from Maduro or his top aides, and any verified images of U.S. Marines or Special Forces operating on the streets of Caracas. Until then, what is certain is that Venezuela has crossed a dangerous threshold, from chronic crisis and low-level conflict into a sudden, high-risk confrontation with the world's most powerful military. For Venezuelans on the ground, the slogans and hashtags tell their own story. Caracas under attack, tanks in the streets, and the Marines have arrived.